Hey everybody, my name is Sarmate, and welcome to our updated guide for settlement survival. I hope you're having a fantastic and amazing day today. In this video, I'll be going over several different tips and tricks that I've accumulated over 9 different playthroughs of this game on YouTube with you guys. They're going to be broken up into several different sections, which I'll mark in the description, and you'll see them on the timeline of the video. Thanks for coming and checking out the video, and I hope you find something useful. Okay, to start off, we are going to be talking about navigating buildings and the building menu. So this is changed with the release of the game. It used to be where you would open up one of these things down here and everything was color coded. One thing you can do to search for your building that you want to create is they have the search function here now. So you can click this, and there's any building that you want to create, let's say mine. You go ahead and type it in, and you have everything that you have unlocked that has the word mine in it. So you can go ahead and click anything from here and go ahead and build it. If you already have a building complete and you come across it in the build menu, and you're not sure where it is, all you have to do is go to it here in the build menu and right click on it. It'll take you right to it. If you have more than one, such as our small trading post, it will cycle through the trading post that you have created. So a quick, easy way to cycle through your buildings. Another way to cycle through the buildings is if you go ahead and you click on it, you have the arrows here left and right. You can click those and it will toggle through a bunch of different buildings that you have, in this case, the houses. If you would like to copy an existing building, such as our luxury house here, all you have to do is hold left shift and click on the building. You can see that this brings up a copy of the building. You are able to rotate it as you want, and then you can go ahead and place it. That's a good, quick, easy way to copy a building that you want to make a duplicate of. Maybe you placed a bunch of houses that you no longer want in that area anymore. Well, to delete them, all you have to do is go down here to the little pickaxe, the command, and then hit demolish. And then all you have to do is click and drag. Your houses will be marked with the pickaxe, and the workers will come over and start dismantling it. But something to keep in mind, if you dismantle a house, such as this luxury house that has upgrades, in this case, the puppy and the kitten, you will lose those upgrades. So keep that in mind if you want to demo some buildings. The next thing we're going to be talking about is your housing layouts and the citizens' proximity to where they are working. So what you want to do is have your houses close to where the people are going to be working. So when the 3 conditions that come up that are cold, thirst, and hunger, when those happen, your workers don't have to go very far to get back to their homes. So you want to be close by, and these conditions happen, well, when they get cold or thirsty and hungry, of course, and you are able to see that right in here. We have the hunger for the citizens, stamina, warmth, and thirst right here. So this person is good to go for a little while. When those stats get too low, this citizen is going to have to walk all the way back to their house. So the idea is to make that travel time as little as possible. And there's a couple ways that you are able to do that. And one of them is upgrading roads as you go. And this is something that I kind of failed, in my opinion, in this playthrough that we just did here. As you can see, we have this darker spot and these lighter brown spots with the darker circles on them. So what that is the basic road, the dirt road, and then on top of that is laying the obsidian road. Now, the reason why I said I kind of messed up with that is because, as you can see, there's a handful of things in between the dirt road and the obsidian road. Next time, I'm going to build the dirt road, and then once we get enough stone, I'm going to start to replace my roads with stone roads. And the reason being, as you can see there, this is going to increase the movement speed of the citizens on the road by 50%. Cut stone roads, 75%, and then Gold Avenue, Jade Avenue, and Obsidian are 125% increase. So this is just going to be a good way to help your logistics and be able to get your citizens to and fro more quickly. So not only do the citizens have to worry about those stats to get back to their houses, when their carrying capacity gets full, you'll see down over in here what they are carrying, and here's the carrying capacity inventory, 0 out of 200 in this case. The citizens have to carry whatever goods to a storage space. So as you can see here, I have storage spaces all over the place. We want the travel time to be as little as possible. With roads upgraded, and then traveling time being short, and then learning items that help you carry more items in one trip, such as the baskets, the packet expansion, backpack, and cart. These are all going to allow you to increase that inventory carry weight. You can see we have 150 there, 100 there. So if a citizen had a backpack and a handcart, you're looking at 250 plus carrying capacity. So super great. They can really fill up, especially on farms, gathering all of those goodies and carrying one trip all the way back to the storage space. The next thing for efficiency and logistics is the compost plant and the mills. So if we go ahead and we click on our compost plant, you can see that they have this little area of squares that they influence. So what this is going to provide is the fertile soil buff. Production of field, grove, and farm increases by 50%. If you are unsure if you have enough of the farm covered to be getting that buff, all you have to do is click on it, and you can come up over in here. You can see that this plantation has the educated worker bonus as well as the fertile soil bonus. So we are in fact getting the buff from the compost plant. And similar to the compost plant, we have the mill. So you can see again here, we have the little area of effect, and you can see it's getting the grassland buff. Output from pasture increases by 50%. We go ahead and click on our corral. We have the educated worker bonus as well as the grassland bonus. So these are all quick and easy things that you can put in to help increase the output of your corrals, your pastures, and your farms. Super easy and handy thing to build up. Another great building for efficiency is the transfer station. So this one has given a lot of people a lot of confusion, and I just want to go over it quickly to hopefully clear some of that mess up. So what this transfer station does, think of it like a regular old warehouse. The difference being is that it has two transporters. So right here, we have our apples. And we have our transportation right here. So what's going to happen is the people at the orchard are going to pluck the apples. They're going to bring the apples on over to the transfer station. You can see we got them right here. And then those transfer station people are going to go ahead and bring those apples on over to the road, and we're going to bring them up north. Way up over in here, where we have some more storage spaces. Now, in this case, most of these are pretty full, so that might be an issue that I'm currently having that I'm not aware of. But if one of these warehouses was empty, they would bring those apples up to the warehouse, which would then be pulled from the warehouse to the jam workshop to produce jam from our apples. The transportation is going to have goods brought to it. It is then going to move those goods to a warehouse outside of the blue circle. So that's all you got to think about with the transfer stations. They have the dedicated people to move the goods that are brought to it and bring those goods back out into warehouses that are further away. And while we're here talking about our transfer station, we can also talk about building upgrades. Now, these are really great. So you can see here we have the expansion and the reinforcement upgrade already applied to our transfer station. So what this is going to do in this case, the expansion is going to remodel warehouses with bricks to consolidate it, thus it can accommodate more items. So what that means, your inventory increases. It goes from 100% to 50% if your inventory is full. So it's very, very powerful. The other option that we have here is reinforcement. So what this is going to do, if you're playing with disasters, this will make the transfer station invulnerable to the disasters. So it will not be destroyed. I think this is a very, very good thing to have if you're playing with disasters on. Many different buildings have different buffs. So we have our advanced smithy here. We don't have anything in it, so we can talk about what's available. So we have economy here, which is going to reduce materials consumed for production. So that's going to reduce the cost of lumber and the iron ore here. So if we go ahead and hit that, we can see if that changes. And you can see that the iron ore did decrease. We also have jobs +1. Oh, it's going to require 50 luxury furniture. It's going to add in a 4th worker here. Go ahead and do that. You can see it appeared, and you can go ahead and add it. And then we also have the brick kiln, which is going to remodel the structure to get the fire burning stronger and improve the work efficiency. So that's awesome. We're going to go ahead and select that as well. But we have one more thing here, but we are out of slots. So that you have to keep that in mind. If you want to be upgrading, you got to decide what you want. In this particular playthrough, I played without disasters, so reinforcement is kind of a futile thing. So we're just going to go ahead and have those 3 buffs in there. There's all sorts of different things that you can get for your apartments. You can see here we have cats and dogs. The senior housing, we had a puppy, we have some toilets in here, luxury furniture. We have to read through each one, and they all do different things, and they're all very good. So you want to watch out for those. And along with upgrades, you are able to upgrade the building itself. So we have our advanced tailor here. If we go ahead and hit upgrade, you can see that we can upgrade the tailor to a clothing factory, but we are going to need a couple of things. We need some bricks, we need some steel, and we need some lamp oil. In this case, I cannot select this because I do not have enough steel in order to build this. So we can't do that upgrade just yet. We have to accumulate a couple more things. But if you are able to upgrade it, such as with this house here, you can go ahead and hit that, select, and then you'll get the little pickaxe above it. And the good thing is the buildings will maintain their footprint. So what that means is if this is a 5x4, when you upgrade, the upgraded building will also be a 5x4, so it doesn't get any bigger. So that's very nice. It doesn't mess up your layouts of your town. So a great building to get when you're building up your town is the school. And schools are an investment. They take longer for kids to become laborers, but once they do, they are more efficient workers. You can see here, children between ages 8 and 9 will go to school for education and will graduate after finishing their class. So for me, I have a love-hate relationship with schools. When you're trying to build up your town, often you need laborers for things. And when you're starting out, 20 people, 20 students that are potential laborers is a lot. So you have to kind of put up with it and wait for your children to graduate to become more efficient workers, because it is worth it in the long run. If you're wondering why I currently have 0 students in here, but you can see that I have kids up here, that is because I am currently utilizing a wonder that is over in this area. And what this building does is all citizens can receive education here. So there really is no need for schools anymore. Everybody just goes to school in this area. Another thing that you can do with your forester's hut is you can choose which items to produce here. So you can cut trees or you can just plant trees. So currently I only have plant trees going on with this forester's hut. And as you can see, this is pretty dense in here. So you have a couple things that you can do. You could go to the command tool, you could fell these trees and gather them up, but it does take quite a while for those to come back with only one forester's hut. But what I like to do is, because the apiary and the gathering hut do better with more mature trees, I like to have a forester hut planting around them so that it gets a very dense area for lots of things to grow, lots of things for the gatherer's hut to pick up. So I like to utilize the forester's hut alongside with my gatherer's huts. Upon the full release of the game, they changed how health and happiness work. So you can see that we have 100 and 111% currently with happiness and health. And there are a couple buildings that will assist in each of those things. So to start off here, we have the theater, which is learned under livability theater. We also have the bathhouse for health, the hospital and pharmacy also for health. And then later we have the cathedral for extra happiness. The chapel also provides extra happiness. Another great item that helps your health is salt soap. There's also the option for medicinal soap right here. It grants a health bonus by consuming the item. If you go the medical soap route, what you're able to do is upgrade your bathhouses with bathing, which then helps provide extra health bonuses to the citizens within the radius of the bathhouse. So super great medicinal soaps. A couple little things there to help with your health and happiness to get started. There's a couple of things that we can mention here that will help additionally. So you can see here, if we hover over happiness, we are able to see the breakdown of what's contributing to our happiness. And then where our percentage is going to dictate which of those effects is in effect. So garment, that's clothing. So if we have poor clothing for people, we aren't going to be very happy about it. So we want to have some good clothes. Shoes, that's going to be straw shoes and leather shoes. Food rations, you want to have enough food to feed the people. The better the food, the better that ration is going to be. Religion, that's going to be our churches and our mosques. Entertainment, that's going to be the theater. Proper burial, you're going to have cemeteries around town. Eventually, when you get to tier 4 with Carlos in your trades, this guy right here, you'll be able to get the Chichen Itza, this building. You can see here, we have 4,184 people buried here. This is a unlimited burial site. But before this, you have to build your cemeteries. What you end up having to do is build cemeteries, filling them up, and then destroying them, and then rebuilding the cemeteries. So you have to keep doing that over and over and over again, and it's very tedious at the beginning of the game until you get this guy. Super worth it. So those are the happiness effects. You can see that our effects there, when we're at 0 to 20%, you can have instances of crime occurring that can take the form of murders, which is a terrible thing to try and deal with. 20 to 40% food consumption is increased by plus 10%. You're low, you're at 40 to 60%. Work efficiency is at negative 10. And once you hit 60 to 80, you have no effect, and then 80 to 100, work efficiency is increased by 10%. And then if you're over 100, for every 10% you're over 100, you get an additional plus 10% work efficiency. And then if we look at the health side of things, we have tool quality, logistic equipment, drinks, Medicare, sanitation, waste disposal, and not yet known. Tool quality, that's going to be your tools, of course. We want to have good tools around town so people can do their jobs. Logistic equipment is going to be, like what we mentioned a little bit earlier, your backpacks and your hand carts, just for a couple quick examples, baskets as well. Drinks, looking for water, tea, alcohols, stuff like that. Medicare, that's going to be health coverage with your clinics and your hospitals and your pharmacies. Sanitation, that's going to be like your bathhouse. Waste disposal, so they added in latrines right here. So you can see that we have our little area of effect, of course. So you want to have these within the area of your homes. And what this is also going to be doing for you is producing dung, and you can use that for fertilizer. A quick thing that you can do for medicine in case you need some is if you have some cactuses growing like we do over here, and you get those from Carlos again, you can process those cactuses into medicinal powder. So we can use this medicinal powder to help keep our citizens healthy. One of the best ways that you can produce enough food for your people is to achieve the technology farming efficiency. The speed of sowing and harvesting is doubled, plus 100%. So this is a very powerful thing. I like to go for this almost immediately when I start my playthroughs. This is a very, very powerful buff to get. And once you get your plants happening, you'll learn that there are 3 different types of foods. So we have raw food, we have simple food, and we have fancy food. Currently, I'm quite struggling on keeping up on my fancy foods. So raw foods are the least filling, and some can be used to create better foods. One of my favorite early foods to get is cactuses, and then we can produce those cactuses into cactus cuts. These things, as you can see here, we made almost 1,900 cactus cuts in the previous year with 4 workers, and we do have an oven buff in here as well. A crazy amount of cactus cuts coming in here. The trade-off being that these don't help hunger very much. So you can see there that hunger is 8 and happiness is 20, and that's pretty typical for the simple foods. So what you want to do sooner than later is produce more refined foods. So you can do that in a couple different ways. One easy way to do it is with the veggie processing plant. You can see here that we have tomatoes and we are turning them into veggie salads. So currently our basic tomatoes are hunger of 8 and happiness of 15, but our veggie salads are 15 hunger and 40 happiness. So this very simple little way of turning tomatoes into veggie salads drastically improves the tomatoes, almost twice as good by processing the tomato into veggie salad. Another really simple food that you can grab is the peasant bread. So this is only going to require flour. So the way to get flour is you need a mill. Once you get the mill, you can have your oats or several other ingredients such as wheat in there, and the mill will process those things into flour, and then you can make that into bread with a very, very simple recipe of just the flour into some peasant bread. So that's going to be 20 hunger and 35 happiness, so pretty good. And finally, another really simple food that you can get quite early in the game is your salted fish. So if we go over here to our curing workshop, we have salt, and in this case, I'm using meat chops. It's very similar. But here's a salted fish. You can catch the fish, get some salt with the salt works. The very easy process of turning your fish or meat into salted foods. Hunger 20, happiness 40. And finally, we have fancy foods. So these are the end game foods. So you can check over here. We have quite the variety of fancy foods, of course. Candy being one of them. We got chocolate here, popcorn, dumplings, tofus. So all sorts of things, but these require many, many steps. The simplest one is candy here. For candy, all we need is sugar and honey. You can see that right here, sugar and honey. So of course we get the honey from the apiaries, and then we get the sugar with a little bit of processing of our sugar canes, and then they produce the sugar, and then we're able to produce candy from that. We also have meat cans. We have 40 hunger and 45 happiness, but this is quite extensive. Requires glass bottles, salt, and then meat chops. So you can up your curing workshop with, it's using the salt and using the meat chops. And if you add in the glass bottles, you can go ahead and get the meat cans. Glass bottles, though, are going to require sand and kilns. Something important to keep an eye on is the temperature tolerance of your crops. So in this playthrough, we get cold very, very early in the season. And so if you go ahead and you check out your seeds, you can see everything has the output, harvest period, and the growth temperature. So a lot of these things are 35 to 120 degrees Fahrenheit in their tolerance range. But since it gets cold so quickly in our playthrough, potatoes are something that I needed to get into. And it took me a while to realize that that's what we needed. We were having a huge food problem, and potatoes were the ticket. So you can see here, 25 Fahrenheit is the low point. So 35, 25. This 10 degrees doesn't seem like too much, but it's enough to where it was able to turn a huge town problem we had around, and we were able to keep going. So I produce a ton of potatoes per year. So look at this. So I currently have 234,000 potatoes sitting around in our storage. So we are making an abundance of potatoes to carry our town and our people. The next thing to talk about is trading. So I had briefly mentioned trading, and Carlos specifically, but I want to talk about how we get to trading, because it's a very good thing to have in this game. It unlocks all sorts of fun stuff. So you can come over here down into trade, and we have all sorts of different trade things. Now, you don't need to get anything in here to begin trading, but before you do trade, I would highly suggest you get this tech insurance. The caravans have a chance of not making it back, and if that does happen, you get a little bit of money compensation. You don't get anything for the people, but the goods that you lose are compensated for. There's all sorts of things in here that help out the caravans. We have quick preparation, carries more items, and the caravans move a little bit more quickly. The overloader increases its max carry weight, and then travel light. So what this does, this is worded a little bit funky right now, but the number of workers required is lowered, but the trade takes longer to complete with the same amount of workers. What it's trying to say is that at the same rate of risk of death, so let's say 2% risk of death, the numbers of workers are required is lower. So I'll have to walk you through this so this will make a little bit more sense. We'll go ahead and we'll open up our bazaar here. And if we're gonna go form a caravan, we have caravan members. So this is the number of people inside your caravan, and then you can see here the risk of death. So the higher the number of people in the caravans, you can see the risk of death is decreasing. However, the round trip time is increasing. So that's all that it's saying. It's kind of a weird way to say it, how they wrote it, but this is an example of what that's referring to. And then of course, if we go the other direction, the risk of death increases and the round trip time decreases. So that's what that's talking about. So while we're here, we can look at the 4 different factions that we have to trade with. We have Meow, Lorenzo, Rania, Carlos, and Antonio. Antonio is specifically for the trade dock, but these other 4 traders are for the Grand Bazaar and for the small trading posts. So small trading posts you have access to right away in the beginning, and that's going to be located right here, logistics, your small trading post right here. So with the 4 different people, Carlos is one of my favorites. Here's where we get the cactus seeds, cactus workshop to process those seeds. We also have access to agave seeds. This says tequila seeds, but they are agave seeds to make agave clothing. We can also use that to produce tequila and rope. So these things are going to unlock certain things that will allow you to sometimes substitute the other buildings in the game for these improved things. Another example of that would be here with Meow, level 3. So you can unlock the plantations through the tech tree, but they aren't quite as good as the dense farms that are provided here. The plantations are a plus 25% production bonus, where the dense farm is plus 50, and these are the best farms in the game, and this is the only way to get them, by increasing your reputation level to 3 with Meow. There's quite a few other things in here, definitely worth the look around. Check out some of these things. The hardwood nursery is really good. These tools, the hardwood tools, have the same durability as steel tools, and you can get these very, very early in the game and grow your hardwood seeds and get the hardwood nursery and grow hardwood tools. You can have some very, very fantastic, good tools early in the game. And then once you're finally ready to set up a trade, so what you have to do here, we go into the, let's go ahead and we'll go into the small trading post just because it's the most basic thing. We can go ahead and say form a caravan. So we have up the top here, we have our 4 traders. We have Meow, of course, Lorenzo, Ronnie, and Carlos. And you can pick whichever one you want to go to. And once you have the one selected that you want to go visit, you have a couple of options here. So here's some information. You can decide here if you want to loop stuff. So you just hit this check, loop, yes. So what that means is that, let's say you want to continuously buy 50 furniture. All you have to do is come over here, go down to hit this plus, come up over in here. Let's say furniture. Let's buy regular old furniture. We're going to buy 10 of those. And then we're going to go ahead and put that number in here. And then we say purchase. That's going to come over in here. It's going to give you the buying cost. So in this case, 110. So if we left it like this and then hit form and with loop on, this would go out, the caravan would go out, and it would take 270 days with a risk of death of 1.46%, 7 caravan members, to go out and purchase the furniture and come back with it. So that's loop. And then of course we talked about the caravan members. You want to increase the caravan members. That's going to lower your risk of death, but increase your round trip time. And then this is where you utilize that insurance tech that you purchased. So go ahead and check that, and you can see the premium. So what this means is it's going to cost you an additional 3 coins to get the insurance premium. And then we go ahead and we go down to selling items. So this is the way you make your silver coins. So the currency in this game, silver coins, right there, you can see I have 68,000. So if we're going to go ahead and sell some items, you have to decide what items you want to sell. We probably have some really cool swords that we can sell. So we can go ahead and type in sword. You can see the item, the price. If you want to keep some in reserve, that's what this is for. And this is the amount we're going to sell. So you can hover over this. We have 238 exquisite swords in reserves. So come over in here. We can say 200 or 238, whatever you want to do. Type that in and then you click, and you can see here we have the total weight. So we currently are using up 600 out of the 1700 total carry weight of this caravan with a sell price of 29,249. So what this is going to do, the caravan is going to hang out, and then the people are going to load up the caravan with your exquisite swords in this case, and then they will, once it's loaded up, they will leave the town with the exquisite swords. They will sell those goods to Rania. They will load up with the furniture and come back, and whatever profit you make, so this number minus this number, is going to go ahead and go into your bank of silver coins. And that's one way you can make money in the game. So early on, so throughout the game, there are events that occur, and sometimes you get pretty good goods from those events. And early in the game, you may not have a use for those goods. So one thing you can do is come here to your small trading post and sell those goods and purchase an item or items you may need. You can see here we have 1 out of 9. What that means is we can have 9 different items in the trade caravan to sell, and then 9 different coming back. And then once you're all happy with it, you can go ahead and click form. As long as you have enough laborers to make into caravan workers, you will be able to form this. You can see here that we're getting started, and we have lost 7 people. We're down to 45 laborers from 52. And shortly here, we will be able to see that the days will start to progress once this thing is loaded up with our swords. You can hover over here and see their progress and how soon they'll be able to go. And we're currently at 0 at 200. So you just have to be a little bit patient, and with a little bit of time, you'll be able to take your goods and you'll be able to send them out and get a little bit of money coming in. Also underneath the tree for trade, we have pottery, carving workshop, and jewelry. So the pottery has the ability to process clay and a catalyst, meaning refined fuels, into pottery. This is a very easy early game thing that you can get to start selling goods and making a little bit of silver coins. You are also able to purchase goods that you currently cannot produce. So let's say that you learned the whole tree here and you grabbed your plantations right after you got your farming efficiency tech. If you aren't able to produce any of these items yet, you are able to import them with the trade. So keep that in mind. If you're making good silver coins, but you haven't quite got to a certain level of production on any item, you can import anything you need to import. So keep that in mind. That is an option for you. Next up, we're going to be talking about the housing and stress. So there is an overall stress metric for your town, and it is right here. So you can see we're currently at 85% stress, and that's very, very high right now. And what that's going to affect is our fertility rate. So the higher our stress level is, the lower our fertility rate is going to be. And you can see the certain factors here that are influencing the city stress level. A couple ways to combat the city stress level are by upgrading and by building upgraded housing structures. So you can see here we have a variety of housing structures. We have our regular old base house, and it's okay. So we have the citizen stress buff right here of -5%. So these citizens that are living here are going to have their stress reduced by 5%. In contrast, we have our luxury house at citizen stress of a -15%. You can further improve the stress rate if you get the puppy. So if we had some puppies in reserve, we'd be able to use cats and dogs to reduce the citizen stress level. This number right here isn't going to change, but it is being affected by having the cat upgrade in there. We also have garden villas, which are -25% citizen stress with the buff of puppies and cats in this case. So that is benefiting 8 citizens in our town. We also have the luxury apartment here. Again, cats and dogs reducing the stress of 33 occupants. And then finally, we have the senior housing. We are utilizing puppies here to help reduce the stress, but there is no built-in stress reducing buff for the senior housing. So you're able to get those buildings right in here. We have the house upgrades. This is going to upgrade your regular houses to luxury houses, the villa, and the luxury apartments, as well as senior housing right here. And then, of course, you want to have your health and happiness as good as you can get them, and that's all going to contribute to reducing the city's stress and improving your fertility rate. All right, moving on, we're going to go ahead and start our miscellaneous tips and tricks. So something to keep in mind if you want to get to animal power is you're going to need some horses and donkeys. And these things are raised from corrals for transportation in order to increase efficiency and load limit by 500%. But this is an important note right here, from corrals. So if you try to get your horses into the pasture, there is going to be no option for horses or donkeys in your pasture. There is only the ability to have them in your corrals. So keep that in mind. You have to have corrals if you order some horses. Otherwise, over time, they will disappear. You only need to order one of each animal you would like to buy from Antonio in order to start raising them. Meaning you only need one horse or you only need one pig. And eventually what's going to happen is you will get 2. And then, of course, you will exponentially grow more and more animals as long as you have the capacity in whatever building to have those animals. If you take the delivery option in your logistics tree, this is going to allow workers in marketplaces or small marketplaces to deliver food, water, and fuel automatically to nearby citizens. But something to keep in mind is if this inventory is always out or very, very low, you need to add in a couple more vendors. And keep that in mind. I had a little problem with that in a playthrough earlier. I was having nothing being brought to the inventories, added a couple of vendors, that's all set up. And then, of course, your citizens' housing will continue to have items in its inventory. I mean, right here, you can see it's got the domestic fuels for heating, it's got the water, and some foods. With a couple of techs, your mines and your quarries can become unlimited. So if you go ahead and go down to your deep quarry after learning the exploration technology and the exploitation technology. So in the quarry, if you go ahead and learn your exploitation technology 1 and 2, you will be able to upgrade your mines to the deep quarry. Likewise, with the mines, if you learn exploration technology 1 and 2, you will be able to upgrade your mines to the deep mine. And this makes mines infinite. The trade-off being, you will need to provide your deep mine with lamp oil, so of course that your citizens can see. So keep that in mind. If you get to the deep mine, you need to have lamp oil to continue to produce goods out of it. So let's say you want to produce some salted meat. But when your butchers make your meat chops, the meat chops disappear too quick, and you aren't able to provide your curing workshop with enough meat chops to last to create your salted meat. Well, like I have here, you have the option of banning things. So what that means is the meat chop being currently banned is only going to be used at the curing workshop. It's only going to be processed. So the way to ban things, you hit I, that's going to open up your town details, go to stock management, and you can ban any of these goods that have this circle with the line through it here. So you can see our meat chops and our honey are currently banned. And you can see the stock that you have of the banned good. In this case, if we have this deselected, they would go ahead and take all of our current stock and eat it all up and use it up. So I wanted to use our meat chops specifically for salted meat because, again, that is a better food. So here we have one of our pastures, and something that has confused me for a little while is if you have more workers in here, how does that affect the pasture? And one of my awesome viewers mentioned that increasing the jobs of the herdsman in this case, is only going to increase the output of non-slaughter goods. So that would be things like alpaca wool. So more workers you have in here, the more alpaca wool I would produce, but that does not have an effect on the reproductive rate of the animal. So more workers is not going to improve how much more meat you're getting out of this. There's a couple basic hotkeys that I have recently learned and have been taking advantage of that I'd like to share with you as well. So we have on our 10 key or your numpad, the plus and minus buttons. So currently our clothing factory is full. So of course we need to subtract, so hitting minus right here, people out of that. And then let's say, hey, maybe I do want more people in there. So you go ahead and hit plus and add them in. And then we have a couple ways to turn off buildings. So you can go ahead and hit this toggle button right here, turning it off, or like I'm going to do now, you can hit P and it does the same thing. So a couple little hotkeys for you there. P to turn buildings on and off, and then plus and minus to adjust how many workers you have in the building. Another recent thing that they've added into the game is these jade points. Now, these jade points were very confusing to me because you can't build a jade house here to mine this. What you have to do is build a mine, and what will then happen is your mine will then produce a small amount of jade from the jade point. So that's the way to take advantage of your jade points that you see around your town. Something that I did when I was very beginning of this game is I never left enough laborers. So you can see we currently have 40 free laborers running around the town. You do not want to assign away all your laborers. The laborers are going to be the ones that are going to help carry goods. They're going to be the ones that help gather up things. When you say like gather all here, if we hit these trees, all those 40 laborers are going to come over and then they're going to help cut these trees down or gather stones or do any of these options here in the command prompt. And finally, for our very, very last tip, if you take a bunch of immigrants and one of those immigrants has a sickness that you are not able to deal with yet, if you do not do this thing, you will lose your town. My very first town that I played through, I was not prepared for a sickness, and the sickness took over my town. So the way to defeat this is you are able to banish any citizen you would like. Go ahead and you just click on them, and then you click here on banish, and then they will be kicked from the town. You will get a warning prompt. Citizen will be banished from the town, but the happiness of their family will be greatly reduced. Are you sure you want to exile them? You hit confirm, and they are gone. So that's how you deal with a disease you are not prepared for. And that's going to be it for my updated tips and tricks video for Settlement Survival 1.0. I hope that I was able to help you out with a question that you had, and I hope that you were able to learn something. Thanks for taking the time to watch the video. Special thanks to everybody who helped me come up with some more tips and tricks. I will put your names up on the screen right now. So thank you very much for all the comments and all the support that everybody's given me on the Settlement Survival. Have a fantastic and amazing rest of your evening, day, or night, and I hope to see you again soon.